Thank you very much for making time to be with us this morning. You are watching Look Up TV. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. It's a true testimony of where we are in as regards climate change. I woke up this morning to messages that we are back to July again. Just after a week of proper sun, we are back to where we started all over again back in July. So it's quite cold this morning, and by the way, quite foggy as well. So for the drivers who are still on the road, by the way, just like we've been saying on this show, it is important for you to arrive alive. And some of the people that you're carrying right there in your vehicles, by the way, are the next leaders of this country. So do not kill the next president of this nation. Do not kill the next CEOs of this nation. Please drive responsibly as you carry or ferry people to their various places of work this morning. Just a snapshot of what you would continue expecting. Today, it's not so good. Currently as it is, if you're in Nairobi, then you are doing 16. 16 is quite cold this morning. We're expecting to be at around 17, 18. You know, the sun coming up, especially after you guys witnessed the red moon just the other day. Climate change in its real face. The highs today are 24. You'd expect that in September, our highs will be around 27, 28. We're not getting there. And that you have to wait all the way up to 3 p.m. for you to experience 24 degrees in average. So still a very, very cold month indeed in September. Good. What are we talking about this morning? We are talking about connectivity and mobility. I'll be telling you about a company that is celebrating 10 years of doing that in the country. We'll be talking about where our mobile penetration is. By the way, let me give you that number. If you go back to 2024, CA is putting that penetration at around 133%, the highest in Africa, by the way, if you look at those numbers. And that is a figure that is given by the fact that majority of you might be walking around with 2 mobile phones, or indeed smartphone penetration is now at around 60%. That's a big number as well. We'll be talking about that this morning and talking about how that then leads to a broader conversation of financial inclusion this morning. Just before we get there, then let me jump to the dailies this morning, see exactly what it is that you are waking up to this morning in terms of the biggest topics. And I would like to start with the Daily Nation. And this is exactly what they're talking about. Big stories here that you really need to grab that copy and read. The big story here is how 1 million workers that are working for Kenya have gobbled up half of our taxes. Talk about that recurrent expenditure that keeps on hitting the country. And let's talk about it. If you look at all the way from 2017, 2018, we were talking about 51% of Kenyan taxes essentially going to payment of Kenyan workers. That has not stopped, because all the way up to 2025, we are talking about that being at 48%. By the way, if you look at what the recommended figure should be about 33%. So we are 16% worse than at 2024, 2025. Our worst years being 2017, 2018, all the way to 2019, 2020. And this at a time when the government is promising proper austerity measures that are coming from within. Looks as if that the rain is still beating us in this regard. Like this. Now, the story here is covered on page 4 and 5. I can just give you a snapshot of that as well. That a hiring spree to meet the demand for more teachers, medics, and security officers has pushed the number of government employees past 1 million. The bloated workforce is consuming nearly half of the annual tax revenues, with runaway wage bill leaving little for development. That story has been covered on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. Good. Let's go to page 10 this morning. Orders put on ice, e-procurement protest victims team. All right. Now, the president has been speaking tough on how county bosses and every government entity should be using e-procurement. Now, county bosses have been really breathing hard on this directive, telling the president that they can decide to run their governments as they please because governments are devolved. Looks as if this case has essentially gone to court as orders by the president have now been put on ice, meaning they don't have to use e-procurement. And this, according to the president, is one of the ways that the government can come in and fight corruption in the country. It looks as if the courts have said, hold on to that. Let's listen in to the pleas that are coming from the different sectors of the economy following those directives, by the president. That story has been covered on page 10. Page 7 here. Now, county employees go without salaries. That story has been covered on page 7 as well. So you can get that copy and get to see exactly what those stories are all about. Let's cross over then to the Standard this morning. See what they have covered. Good. This is what they're talking about on the Standard this morning. It's about the big story here, which is the president's visit then to Addis. That's the big story here that they have covered. And the story is talking about the lavish Addis flight, all right? And I mean, even before we talk about this headline, if you go back to even previous governments, even President Uhuru's government, we did see these headlines. Looks as if we're not learning so much then in as regards government expenditure. And this is what they're saying, that had President Ruto chosen to fly to Addis Ababa using Kenya Airways, his round-trip ticket would have cost taxpayers, now wait for it, just 179,730. Only that, all right? Even with a delegation of up to 10 aides, the total bill would have just come to 1.8 million, just on transport, all right? Now, instead, the president opted once again, this is not the very first time that the hustler narrative has been put to taste, all right? He opted for a luxurious private jet, the kind typically used by tech billionaires, not my words. These are the words of the Standard this morning, racking up over 12 million shillings in charter costs for a 4-hour round trip. Now, this comes as the country borrows 3.3 billion shillings daily, and the controller budget raises red flags over rising State House travel expenses at a time when millions of Kenyans are struggling to put food on the table. Such extravagance smacks of tone-deaf wastefulness. That story has been covered on page 8 of the Standard this morning. And if you want to see a couple of pictures, then you can see the interior pictures of that flight. Quite lavish indeed, isn't it? It's 12 million. KQ flies Addis, by the way. Had he flown first class, it would have cost 179, and that's a regional flight. It's not an international flight. So just on fare alone, that's 12 million shillings. Yeah. Also, this coming days after State House spokesperson had to come in and say that printing cost is 2 million shillings a day. Yeah, that everything that the president does, even if you go to State House, sign the visitor's book, it's on special paper that can be saved for years and years to come. Yeah, that's 2 million shillings on printing on a daily basis. That's a lot of money, isn't it? All right. Let's cross this then by looking at the People Daily this morning and see what headline that I have this morning. The headline is on Ruto, from west to east. Ruto's global gamble backfiring. His bold diplomacy won him state owners and trade deals, but a number of missteps are pushing allies to ask whether it is worth the bait. And that coming at the back of his address in Addis. So let's just take 3 minutes then and look at some of the issues the majority of Kenyans are talking about this morning, even as you start your day. And I'll tell you what it is this morning, other than majority of these headlines. Yes, Ruto is trending this morning. And it's trending because of also the cost of his travel to Addis. And this is what Nelson Amenya this morning is saying. Why hire a Gulf Stream to fly to a neighboring country less than an hour away? All right. Did he want to reach in 30 minutes? All right. The Ruto continues to show us by the day that a day will come when we'll show him who the real boss is. We want the people. That is reactions on the cost of his travel to Addis. Yeah? Oof, that's 12 million shillings, isn't it? That's just for 4 hours. Other Kenyans this morning, what you're talking about is on the moon. By the way, in the advent of AI, it's going to be very hard for you to discern what the real images are from the moon you just viewed the other day and what the true pictures the majority of Kenyans caught were. So I've seen stunning imagery of the red moon, all right? Some just backdropping KICC. But you gotta be cautious though. When you look at those pictures, some of them might be altered by AI. Yeah, because some of them are stunning. Makes you wonder, did some Kenyans just not sleep at all and said that we're just gonna wait for that moon to backdrop KICC, so that give you the perfect shot of the red moon? Yeah? Please, I can see some of them here. Fantastic imagery. Some of them I've even tagged at Lookup TV, but I will tell you, it will need a forensic audit before we gotta tell you that the best red moon picture that was taken just the other day was this, this, and this. I don't have the tools to do that. But some of them look unbelievable. But if they're true, then oof, those are beautiful imagery that we're seeing this morning in the studio. Good. I've got Kenyans who are talking about Dalmas Otieno, who passed on just the other day, and I can read for you some of the statements that we got. Raila Amolo Odinga just talking yesterday on this. He said that Mama Eden and I have received news of the passing of Hon Dalmas Otieno Onyango with profound sadness. He was a committed public servant who believed in the power of effective and efficient public service as a cornerstone of good governance. We extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and to the people of Rongo and Migori County. May his soul rest in peace. That's what we're seeing this morning. Now then, let's talk about the Africa Climate Summit, which has got majority of Kenyans talking then this morning about the cost of that private jet that took the president to that Addis summit. And this is what the president is talking about this morning. Let's just read this statement in caps just before we talk about our big conversation this morning. And this is what he's saying. Africa is redefining climate action, not a burden, but as an opportunity for growth, jobs, and transformation. That's what he's saying. From Nairobi Declaration to the second Africa Climate Summit in Addis Ababa, we've embraced climate positive growth, positioning Africa as a global source of solutions. Entrepreneurs and communities are already driving climate change through green industrialization, climate smart agriculture, renewable energy, and carbon markets. That's what he's saying this morning. But realizing this vision requires global partnership, reforming finance to cut capital costs, expanding concessional flows, mobilizing private investment, addressing currency and debt risks, and opening markets to Africa's green solutions. Now, addressing the second Africa climate in Addis, Ethiopia, and launched the report, Africa's Journey of Climate Action and Partnership, affirming that these summits are not standalone events, but milestones on a shared path to a climate-safe, prosperous future for all. That is what the president said yesterday in as regards the summit. And by the way, those pictures are beautiful, right, of the president addressing the summit in Addis. So what you want to pick out from that? Do you want to pick out the cost of his travel to Addis, or you want to pick out that beautiful statement right there of the president inviting the private sector to work together with governments across Africa just to come close to putting Africa at the frontier of climate change conversations? The pick is yours, because I can see majority of the comments here, you guys have already decided to pick the negative. It's up to you. That's what I'm saying. If you're feeling cold this morning in September and you've never felt cold in September, then here's your chance to pick your fight. when we're talking about climate conversations, then you would know. Yeah? The cost of tomatoes is about to go a bit high again. In December, somebody was telling me that yesterday. When I was asking them, why would it be expensive? And then they told me, you see, we've experienced colds all the way from around May, and now we're in September. So farmers who've been farming tomatoes have been receiving shocks. I think majority of the tomatoes that we're consuming now are not essentially locally grown. So we're waiting for us to grow. When it comes to December, you might be spending more on your tomatoes because of the cold that you're experiencing right now. So when the president is telling you, we talk about climate change, so properly then, it's time for you then to pick a fight, isn't it? Whether the cost of the flight or indeed listening to this and looking for opportunities in it. That's me this morning, all right? We know why St. George's is trending this morning. That school had to be closed indefinitely right there in Nairobi after allegedly a teacher assaulted a pupil in the school. And we're waiting for investigations to come out as per the statements that the school gave out yesterday. It's not good news, man. I mean, the schools have just opened and now parents have to be called back on an emergency case to come and pick your kids and take them back to school again. Sorry, home again. It's not really good. All right, now for football fans, we gotta end it like this. No, Santos has been fired by Nottingham Forest. And Arsenal is playing Nottingham Forest this weekend. So hopefully that becomes like our charm to beat Nottingham Forest. Yeah, because we gotta win as Arsenal. Us losing to Liverpool has really gotten people talking about how we're not really that good. So they're coming in with the assistant manager this weekend. So hopefully that becomes our good luck charm for us to beat them. And if you want to follow that story, they've fallen out with the boss. Even towards the end of last season, the boss is micromanaging the manager, asking him why they lost the last match that could have seen them play the Champions League this season. Good. Let me then intro for you the conversation that we're going to have after this tiny breather. Now, Kenya stands at the intersection of mobility and digital connectivity. Now, these are the two sectors that are transforming lives and driving economic growth. Now, according to the Communications Authority, mobile penetration now exceeds 133%, with more than 63% of Kenyans owning smartphones. And that's a huge number. Now, at the same time, over 1.5 million of border riders also depend on financed motorcycles for their livelihoods, now powering a transport sector that contributes nearly 10% to our GDP. Now, over the past decade, Watu has been at the center of this transformation, financing millions of smartphones and mobility solutions and driving financial inclusion that now stands at a 70%, according to the Central Bank's of Kenya 2024 Economic Survey report. Now, as Watu marks 10 years, the story of connectivity and mobility in Kenya is as much about access as it is about opportunity. Guess what? We do have Watu in the studio this morning. I want us to take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then talk about how their 10 years in these two areas have been in the country. Once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, talk to us at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiagia Simba.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika, na watasema hili waseme lile, watasema hiki na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
For you to forgive someone who has hurt you?
How easy is it?
What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. Men look familiar. Have we met before? No. We met in Nobody's buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Welcome back. Let's talk about Watu then. They're celebrating 10 years in the country. That's quite a good feat. You know what they say? And these are numbers that do not lie. The majority of businesses never see their second birthday. When they get into an economy, if you go beyond your second birthday, despite your challenges, please hold on. You're going to be successful. But then if you want to learn about success of a business, then you got to look at those businesses already celebrating an anniversary. But then beyond that, if you're at your 10-year anniversary, then it's good for you to give people lessons on exactly what you're doing good that has kept you in business for those 10 years. So let's look at a couple of numbers here this morning. Now, according to CA, mobile penetration now exceeds 133%. That's a big number. And then 63% of Kenyans now own smartphones. By the way, if you interrogate this number 5 years ago, it was really low. It was quite low. There's something that has been happening in this particular industry or sector that is making this number jump up. All right? Now, I also talk about borders. Now, according to the 2024 Economic Survey report, there are over 1.5 million border riders, all right, who are riding on a financed model. And this is helping them put money in their pockets. And that's what they're saying, that particular sector alone, the border sector, it contributes 10% to our GDP. Good. Now, let's talk about financial inclusion in the country. Now, because of these two areas, we do know now that Kenya can boast of 70% financial inclusion, and that's quite high. According to the CBK 2024 report. So chances are that if you find yourself in these two sectors, that is transport and communication, then you're playing a big role towards these numbers that we're talking about here this morning. And that company that has been quite notable in this sector, it is Watu. They're celebrating 10 years in this space, and that's not a small feat. So this morning we do have those questions for them. We're going to listen to the lessons that they have given us this morning, and also look at what their plans are in this particular area. And I'm glad to be joined by Chris Rumenda, who is the head of commercial, Watu. Chris, how are you doing, sir?
Thanks, Simba, for having me. I'm glad I'm being interviewed by an Arsenal fan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Hopefully things go well for us this weekend, just like they've been going well for you at what? All right, let's start, Chris.
Yeah.
You're celebrating 10 years in the country.
Yes.
Could you, even before we start looking at these numbers and crunching how things have been, could you paint for me a picture? How have your 10 years been in the country? And I'd like to start from this point. I knew, at your entry in the country, I knew you as a player in the border industry within the transport sector. Now, all of a sudden, we're also talking about you being in the telecommunication sector. Could you give us a brief history of how the 10 years have been?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, like, we started as not even border, we started as group lending. So we're giving women in small groups, giving them loans. That's how we started. Started seeing that impact. And then one day our founder was moving around in Mombasa in a tuk-tuk and asked this person, like, what's happening? Like, do you own the tuk-tuk? How do you afford it? What happens? How much money do you get? And he discovered this person actually rents the tuk-tuk, and he pays around 1,500 shillings every day to the owner of the tuk-tuk. And it's like, why can't you buy your own tuk-tuk? And it's like, there's no bank, there's no one who trusts me enough because I don't have a credit, I don't have a bank account, I don't have a credit rating system, so I'm not able to actually get a loan from any bank. So it's like, okay, what if we give you a loan and we're telling you to pay the same amount of money that you're paying, and then within 1 year, you'll be able to own that tuk-tuk. That's how we started. 10 years later, we are talking about over 600,000 motorbikes that are being given out to our customers. All of them are having that sense of ownership in terms of that. And then looking at that, we're like, what else can we do that will have impact in the society? And that's how we got into the e-connectivity industry a few years back, like almost 3 years ago. We've issued out over 2 million devices to different customers. A few days ago, we just issued our first loan on a television. So this is a big journey, and there's a lot to come within the next few years.
I hear you speak about how the journey has been. I mean, handing out 2 million devices, that's a big number. Now, I'm looking at these numbers here, that Kenya now has 42 million smartphones, Chris. That is accounting for more than 80% of the mobile devices in use. I was also looking at these numbers a couple of years back. They weren't this. No, they were actually quite low, where majority, over 50% of the mobile phones that were in the country, if we go back to 2020, especially 2019, 2020, they were feature phones. Well, you're saying that you have a very high smartphone penetration, but then half of this were feature phones. But now we're changing that. We're saying that 80% of these mobile phones in use now are smartphones. Let's look at it. What has enabled you then to actually hit this huge number, the 2 million mark, in terms of this mobile supply? Can we talk about that?
Yes. So looking at it, like previously a mobile phone was just a device for communication.
Yes.
Like right now, it is a way of life. Like without a mobile phone, there's a lot of things you'll be missing out. I'll give various examples of use cases. Like right now, we're looking at students in school. Those who cannot afford laptops, they have mobile phones that are using it for their education. We're looking at a sense of livelihood, especially if you're looking at the mobility part of it, looking at Uber, Glovo, these ride-hailing services, looking at taxis, everything. Everyone needs a mobile phone to be able to use that. We're looking at farmers right now doing research in different types of products, fertilizer, pest diseases, and everything on how they can support that. I just saw an example last weekend. It was a perfect use case of a mobile phone where a person in Magadi was bitten by a snake, and through image recognition, they were able to identify what type of snake it was, and it helped the hospital to identify what antivenom to actually use. So currently, we're looking at this as a way of life. I have examples of a boda circle in Kibera, whereby they used AI through a mobile phone to write a proposal to an international organization to get them helmets, and they were able to issue out helmets. So you're looking at all of this, it's a way of life. So with that, everyone is going to shift from feature phones to actual smartphones so that they can be able to access all these types of services. You've talked about e-procurement. These are some of the things that are going to be included in all of this. So it's a way of life.
That's
so
it.
with this, the demand for this has actually surged. Yeah.
Chris, for me, is the stories that I like about what companies are really trying to achieve, is that within your company now, even you as the head of commercial, you have maybe one or two specific stories that are true example of what Watu is trying to do, especially in this entire conversation of financial inclusion. From where you are this morning, what is that story, Chris, that you can look at specifically and say, you know what, this is what the company is trying to achieve in as regards financial inclusion?
So I'll give two examples. I'll start with the motorbike side of things. So being a big player with that, one of the things we also do, we go above and beyond. Yes. So there's a lot of trainings that we do after we give you a bike. We're going to train you about safety. We'll train you about a bit of financial management. And yes, due to this, we have seen a rise of boda bodas now joining circles. And through these circles, we have seen them develop. So we have two cases. For example, we have a case in Vihiga where they formed a circle and they were able to buy land worth 24 million. Where they're building, they want to put swap stations, they want to start their own businesses. We have seen a case in Kajiado where they bought 10 acres of land and subdividing among themselves some boda bodas. Some of them are already building that. A good case study that we have seen on the mobility, on the connectivity side of things is the rise of influencers. We've seen a rise of influencers. We have influencers that are now going to become picking up clothes, styling themselves, and be able to get some form of livelihood from this. We are seeing a lot of mama mbogas and different people now shifting the way they do business from recording data on their books and having like simple ERP system and CRM systems where they're able to document what their sales are and even be able to get loans now in bank. Like it becomes something that's a stepping stone now to the other formal ways of getting credit. So lots of stories that actually change the way our society is.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Let's look at about another area when it comes to this space where you find yourself in now. And I think you came in, I don't know whether to say at the right time or the wrong time. Because if you go back to 2019, on average, we're talking about an average smartphone, the prices rose from 6,000 shillings to an average of 19,000 shillings, which is a threefold increase. And if you look at higher purchase accounts, they also tripled from 580,000 in 2021 to over 1.7 million in 2024. Let's talk about this price increase. Chris, is it working in your favor, or are you reading some marginal hesitation in the way that your clients are talking to you about onboarding these smartphones?
Yeah. So if you look at this, like as I said before, with the use cases that we have for mobile phones, people are looking for heavy feature phones, phones with very heavy features.
That's it.
So previously, people didn't care about battery life because you're using it just for phone calls. So it's able to last 3 days, 4 days. Yes. With the type of features and use cases that we have currently with the phones that we have, so these phones require bigger batteries, bigger screens with clarity, better cameras and everything. So with this, that's why we are seeing that shift in terms of pricing going to the high end, because even our customers are asking even for higher models, even more expensive models than we are currently offering. Yeah. So with this approach that we have as pay as you go, with this model now we allow these customers with the little amount of money they have, you pay an initial deposit and then you now start getting access to this service immediately. And then with the very minimal payments of as low as 85 shillings per day, you are able to access these services.
Yes.
And then the advantage of our pay as you go model is you only pay when you use it. So I have seen cases whereby we have farmers there that are busy all through the week. They'll use their feature phones. And then on the weekend, when they want to go to social media and other things, that's when they'll pay for their phone and use it during those weekends. Yeah. So it's quite flexible to most of them, and then it makes it easier for most of them. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's what I wanted to talk to you about next. Because within your model, and as a commercial officer, you're also looking at sustainability, and affordability is one word that you're always thinking about. Because whoever is coming to you for these phones, they're also looking at something that will be affordable at the end of the day. How do you achieve that balance? sustainability with affordability in that model?
So that starts like it's the core of our company. Like one of the key principles for us is responsible lending. So we do thorough KYC checks, and the best check that we do is what we call an affordability test.
Yes.
So we look at you, confirm like your sources, your current sources of income, look at how your family is doing to understand like how much income you make and how much money you can actually afford to able to buy the phone.
Yes.
And then with that, now we'll give you flexible terms that fit in to what you have.
Yes.
So for example, if you have a higher income, then you can take shorter term loans for 6 months. If you have, we will see you might struggle, then you can go up to 18 months.
Yes.
And then we understand that our target audience and our target customers are people that make the money that they make within that day is the money that they need to spend within that day.
Yes.
So we make sure that this fits right in what they actually do. Because if you tell them to pay 10,000 shillings as a one-off, and this is a person who does mujengo or boda boda, he makes 500 to 1,000 shillings every day, he's not capable of doing that.
That's it.
So with this, it makes it quite affordable, and that makes it sustainable for us also.
Somebody told me to ask you this question. Flexibility within the plan, in the sense, yes, I already subscribed to this pay-as-you-use model or pay-as-you-go model, but then because I bought this phone for a specific purpose, that's why we're talking about financial inclusion, the phone within a particular period has helped me get this amount of money. So am I able to come back to Chris and say, you know what, the phone that you gave me for this particular reason has enabled me to get this money, can I pay it off? Is there a plan like that within your pay-to-go model?
Yes. So for us, it's always in a reducing balance model.
Yes.
So in case you're able to get a bulk amount of money from somewhere and then pay off, it even reduces the total amount of money that you'll be able to pay. So
yes.
that is part of it. And then also looking at the flip side, you subscribe to a certain number of months and then you are struggling, then we can have that conversation and also term restructure your loan into a
yes.
different model. Yeah,
that's it.
So very possible.
Is there something beyond this, Chris? This digital inclusion or financial inclusion ecosystem that you've now gotten into, what are you looking beyond, providing mobile phones and this digital financial inclusion solutions? Is there something beyond that the company is targeting?
So for us, it's all about impact.
Yes.
So it's all about impact. We want to see like how many lives can we impact? And you mentioned a few numbers. So we're looking at the border industry, for instance. We're talking about currently on the road over 2.5 million active border riders, each one supporting an average of eight people. So you can imagine 660 billion into the Kenyan economy just from the border industry. So you can look at that, that's one side of the impact. And then look at this other side, looking at connectivity. Like previously, access to information determined who is rich and who is poor. So right now, there's a level playing field whereby any person has access to information. I want to trade in NSC. Previously, those brokers and other people were the ones that were able to do that.
Yes.
So right now, through your smartphone, through AI, you can do a bit of research on which companies are doing well, looking at all the newspapers and everything, and you're able to make a decision on what stocks to actually purchase. This was information that was a preview of the rich only. But right now, everyone can have access to that.
Yes.
And for us, those are the type of products that we're looking at. If we go into TV, it's about also information. So we're looking at similar types of products that are high impact to our customers, and apart from that, like what other support services can we give them? So if I focus on the motorbike side of things, so currently we are doing first aid training for first responders, because we figured out like the first responders in any type of accident is always a border guy. So training them on such skills so that they're able to support. We have what we call watu shule. We understand a lot of riders are not able to afford to get driving license and they don't have. So imagine right now you can get a driving license on loan. So that makes it also easier for them. We have what we call Tujenge Msingi, where we are partnering with NTSA. And we go around the country just training people about road safety, financial management and other things. So this is a very big picture about creating impact to the most undeserved people that a lot of people will not be looking at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this particular model. I'll take you back to what a bigger companies in this space are doing. Like in the US, if I want a phone, it's known. I'll even get a phone that is coming out next week I'll even, because I'm on contract with a particular company. They know that once a new mobile phone comes in, I'm just gonna go and get it. But now your model is also based on me clearing these payments that I have before getting my hands on the next device that is coming in. That particular area, Chris, have you thought about it? In case I want to, you know, I'm still paying on this phone. I'm still on contract with Watu on the phone that I'm using, but I wish to get my hands on the new smartphone that has come in the market. Is that possible within our plan? And is that an upgrade that it's possible within the pay-to-go model?
You've read my mind. I think your experience in business is already showing in this.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at what's happening, so it's within a milestone. So we're looking at different milestones that we have to achieve.
Yes.
So the first milestone is setting up the infrastructure, having a critical mass in terms of the number of people that have smartphones first.
Yes.
So we are looking at, we have a lot of areas that still, the penetration is still low. So we're talking about 60%, how do we move it even to 100% first? Before now we start shifting to the next form of now upgrades. So we're looking at a model whereby what are the add-on services that we can add on this model. So once the infrastructure is built, so one of the services that we can add, exactly as you said, is upgrading your phone. It's a trade-in. I trade in my phone, I get a better phone, so that can be given to someone else. That's something that is still in the pipeline. But we're also looking at what other services do you need as a person who is using this mobile phone. So we're looking at things like health insurance. Can you still, as you pay for your mobile phone, are you also paying for health insurance that covers you and your family? So there's a lot of add-on services that we're thinking, and as we're looking forward between the end of this year and early next year, there's a lot of products that we want to layer on the smartphone, those are things that are coming here.
Also address this, Chris. This is quite a new model, and we're talking about a model that you got into like 3 years ago. But there's a certain rap that this model is getting, that in this economy, this model has been associated to people who necessarily don't have money to buy a phone, as opposed to a model that can enable you get a phone that you want, which then opens you to the conversation of what devices are on your plan, and who are you targeting on your plan? And is it possible that in a couple of years' time, your model get to the place where we're saying, well, if I need the new phone in the market, I just go to Watu and they'll give me that phone. I'll be on contract with Watu. It doesn't have to be because I cannot afford it. It's because then it becomes the easiest way for me to afford the new device in the market.
Correct. Good question. So our model captures both. So right now, if you're looking at the initial stages, the major focus is the undeserved, the ones that cannot actually afford to get these smartphones.
Yes.
But as people are understanding these models, and we're already seeing a lot of demand for higher spec models. So we're getting groups of people whereby I can afford an A06 phone, which costs around 10,000 shillings.
That's it.
But I don't want that one. I want an S25. So such models are still coming in. So there's a lot of demand that is we're already seeing a shift into that, but majority of our customers are still the ones that cannot afford. They're just shifting from the feature phone to their first smartphone. So if you look at a large volume of the phones that we have financed, most of them are the just entry-level smartphones. But there's demand that's shifting already.
That's it.
Yeah.
At what point, Chris, are we going to talk about you saying that, well, this model now, I mean, 2 million is quite a large number in 3 years. I mean, that's an average of what? 500,000 increment on year.
Correct.
If you just look at those numbers.
Yeah.
At what point are you going to say, if you're talking about 80% of the phones in the current market being smartphones, then that 20% might not necessarily be that deserving for us to onboard them. Let's focus on the next tier. At what point is the company going to get to that level?
I think if you're looking at the big jumps, so if you look at the jumps just from last year to this year, quite significant. So I'm thinking in the next 2-3 years, I think we should be at a level whereby we are closing that gap on people that do not have smartphones. So very soon.
That's it.
Very soon.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about partnerships that have enabled you to do this. How are you navigating? Are you talking to companies that bring in these phones directly and telling them that we need this kind of features? Or are you scouting the market and saying that the phones and the brands that we're going to use for this particular pay-as-you-go model, they are phones that fall in this category?
So we did a very good market research to understand like what are the most used smartphones within the country. What are the most demanded? So as now for a start, we started with Samsung phones because that's what the most demanded and that's what most people actually have. So with that, we sold a lot of phones to be able now to discuss and have partnership with Samsung on what directions we want to take. So we have very close partnership with them to understand what features we want as Watu first for a start. Like for example, any Watu phone that you buy currently will come with an Watu app that now makes it easier for these customers to understand their loan balances, also be able to solve any of the issues that they currently have.
Yes.
We have partnerships, discussions with Safaricom to have affordable bundles for these types of customers that we're dealing with. We have discussions with health insurance companies to see what other value addition we can add to these customers.
Yes.
So there's a lot of partnerships in play, but with the volumes that are coming in now, we are able to dictate and negotiate what type of features and things that most customers will want to ensure that they're bundled up within this phone. So a lot is coming.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to your mobility business as well. Yeah. It's a place now you've played in for a very long time. Chris, how have you evolved from your entry into this market and 10 years on? Can you read for us some of the things that you're now doing differently that you weren't doing 10 years ago when you came into the market?
Yeah. So if you look at the border industry, like if you pick any business person out there,
yes,
with the perception that they have about the border community and tell them you want to do a business with them, most of them will say no. But as Watu, we made a deliberate decision to include ourselves in everything that the border people do. So yes, we are part of the border community. If any border will have a funeral somewhere, you'll find Watu there. If they have a project that they're launching, you'll find Watu there. So we are literally part of the border community. We pride ourselves as one of the companies in Kenya that is so integrated with the border. We understand. So currently we have mapped out over 22,000 border stages. We have a database of over 33,000 border chairmen across the country. So part and parcel of this business. And this has been one of the unique factors that has enabled us grow this business, because for us, we trust people that most people will not have trusted. And by the end of it all, we realized border are one of the best people you'll ever work with. They are just normal business people as other business people out there. They're out there to feed their family. And if you look at the numbers, I think they're one of the biggest companies in Kenya.
That's it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your financing as well. Because I know you come in and do your market research when you're getting into a market. And then when you start doing that business, then you realize maybe you need to shift it a little bit, just so that it goes directly to the clients that you're serving. Has your financing model also evolved over the past 10 years, or it is what it was 10 years ago?
We are a very adaptive company. I tell most of my colleagues that we'll never have the same day in Watu.
Yes.
So we have a very understanding leadership team that shifts immediately as things up. Like for example, when regulation changes, we adapt to it. When our customers give us feedback, we adapt to that feedback. Like I'll give an example. When you were starting, most of our customers were doing CRB checks. Majority of them could not qualify. So we're like, what else can we do? And we're like, okay, you work in a stage. There is a stage chairman in that stage. Can that stage chairman vouch for you? So with that now, we're able to open up even a larger pool of customers that could not actually purchase these mobile phones.
Yes.
So really adapting to whatever changes that are coming in. So any new technology comes in, we adapt to it. Any changes in regulation, in economic activities, for example, we started what we call term restructuring. We started something we call 70-30, and by 70-30, we discovered that any border person, in case their repair cost for their bike is more than 5,000 shillings, they have to park their bike, go and look for money from somewhere else to be able to repair that bike. So for us, we were able to come up with a product whereby we will repair the bike for you, add these costs to your loan, and then you continue paying on a daily basis in a model that you are actually used to.
Yes.
So there's a lot of adaptation that we have made for our business to change. So our business is totally unrecognizable from what it was to what we are currently.
That's it.
Yeah.
But in terms of regulation, I want to come and talk about that. And we really have to be very specific when we're talking about this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention names this morning, but Babu Owino himself has been speaking tough about the higher purchase models that are within the economy now.
Correct.
And he's saying that we are going to go to Parliament, we're going to look at them, and then come up with proper regulations that are going to safeguard this particular space. But you know, you've been inside of it for 10 years, Chris. So there's something that is protecting you. What would you say has made your company grow for the past 10 years in an area where every day you wake up in the morning and there are lawmakers who are threatening to come up with stricter regulation to govern your business?
Yeah. So for us, is the customer is at the core of everything that we do. So if you look at the business models that we have, these are not things that we created. We just formalized what is already existing with even better offers. If you look at the first example that I gave on the tuk-tuk story that I was giving, we have, by the time we were doing a research a few months before Watu came in, we're talking about 66% of the boda boda riders at that particular point were at a rental model, whereby employed people are the ones who have taken loans from banks, bought bikes, and then are renting out to the boda boda people who are paying 500 shillings per day for even 10 years, and they will never own the bike. So you're shifting to a model whereby you're paying between 300 to 500 shillings per day, and within a year, you actually own the bike. So to most of our customers, this is a game changer. It's a lifesaver to them. So we understand and we encourage regulation. So if you look at the last 10 years, there's been a lot of confusion, like which regulatory body is actually doing oversight for people like us. So for example, there's the DCPs. We are not part of that because we are offering high impact products. They are offering money. So we are not part of that. So those rules and regulations could not be part of us. We are not banks because we are not taking deposits. So it was a bit different. But we are very lucky, like we had a Business Amendment Act of 2023 that came in that now puts the central bank as the key oversight for people like us. So the law came out, the draft was just released like 1 month ago. The draft was released. Lots of effort went it through. I want to appreciate whatever I saw. Lots of detail, looking at a lot of consumer protection, key things like harassment during collections, like humane collection, looking at things like interest rates. So it protects both us and also our customers. So at least we go to a point whereby the regulations are very clear, and that will now spearhead a big growth within this industry.
Pretty much. Yeah. Guess what? We take a tiny breather right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, still more conversations, including financing, structure, affordability, and risk. We'll be talking to Chris on exactly how the company has been able to navigate this challenging space where we do know there's so many reports of people making away with mobile phones, making away with motorbikes that have been purchased on hire purchase. How have they mitigated that risk while still continuing to pursue that financing model in these two areas? That is on connectivity and mobility in the broader conversation for financial inclusion. Once we come back right here, still talking more on the 10 years of Watu in the Kenyan economy. Good morning.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like.
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, You will know the path for your life.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
People are there to belittle you. When people are questioning you,
if you don't move fast, of course, yes, you lose it, but then it's not us to push you.
But you do not know the God who has been molding me. What has he been doing to me?
The deep and mature conversations of empowerment for you with a curious mind and an appetite for oriented conversations.
I concur with what you're saying. You plan your finances, you can easily live without a debt.
An engaging safe space of free expression and truthfulness with an upheld vibrance, motivation and happiness.
So many children who are there, they are not living their dreams.
Join us for deep conversations with Zipporah Gashushe every Saturday from 8 p.m. The Deeper Conversations on Look Up TV.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Beautiful numbers this morning, and we got to talk about them in the way they deserve. Number one, Watu has been in the Kenyan economy for 10 years. That's a fantastic number right there. All right? If you're celebrating a 10-year marriage anniversary, then you're among the people that we should look up to in this country. Also, good numbers this morning. 80% of the Kenyans that are sold in the phones, that are sold in the Kenyan market are smartphones and not penetration. In fact, if you look at proper numbers, Central Bank of Kenya will put it at between 133% to 145%. So 133%, the P1 numbers of mobile phone penetration, 145 numbers in black and white terms, all right? Even when we account for people who have 3 or 4 or 5 mobile phones in the economy. So still in conversation with Watu this morning, we are with the head of commercial, Chris, in the studio. Chris, let's look at this particular one. If you look at the 2025 Finance Act, it expanded how digital lenders are defined, all right? But financial institutions like Watu remain exempt, but they still face changes. In fact, that's exactly what we're talking about. There are lawmakers who's trying to figure what position you play in this particular space, and they're still trying to amend the laws around it. Are you also trying to figure the direction in which they're talking about, and how is that changing the way that you operate?
Yeah. So as pioneers in the industry, so if you look at a few years back, if you look at the way the lawmakers were looking at companies that are doing hire purchase, they looked at people as people that actually exploit a lot of the consumers.
Yes.
But once they got deeper to understand what happens, to understand the economy and how the customers are actually doing and the impact that we're building, they realize that this is part and parcel of the community. So this is something that we have to live with. So as pioneers in the industry, we are part of documenting these laws. Like we are part, we're the ones that we've gone to meetings with various stakeholders. For example, there's an association of motorcycle assemblers of Kenya. It's one group that lobbies all the manufacturers of motorbikes into a group, and they're able to give their inputs on what laws and everything, how it should be. So we've always been part of this discussion. So as WATU, we have given out briefs about how our processes work, what we do, what are our interests, and everything about that. So
Yes.
with that, we are also part of that discussion, and it makes it easier for the laws to be formed. Yeah.
That's it. Is there any policy adaptation that you can talk about this morning that you've have to, adhere to, just to fit within the conversation of who you are as a lender within the law?
So even before we had the Business Amendment Act, we were looking at what are the various laws within Kenya that we need to adhere to.
Yes.
So for example, we're looking at data protection. So we have already ensured that all our processes are compliant within our data protection laws in Kenya, like what type of information are we collecting and how are we using that information even before these laws came in. We have consumer protection, and in terms of consumer protection, one of the key things was transparency.
Yes.
So if you look at most of our customers, a lot of people will say most of them are not literate, they will not read contracts and everything. So what we do is we have what we call total cost of ownership. So we break it down to them. Like for you to own this mobile phone or to own this motorbike, this is the total cost. So this is how much you're supposed to pay per day, per week, and by the end of this is the total amount of money that you're going to pay, and it caters for this, this, and this, and this. So we've made that very clear to our customers. So these are some of the things that we have done. Apart from that, we have what we call a welcome call. So for every loan that we give out, within your first 72 hours, you're going to get a call from WATU that just reiterates the key terms and conditions, and you're still given an opportunity to return that product if you're not accepting those terms and conditions at that particular point. So we're just adapting to the various laws that are already in existence, but as soon as this law and regulation and Business Amendment Act is done, then that makes everything easier for us. For now, it's to adapt to existing laws that are there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the risk that your business comes with. First, I want you to address how you're finding ways to protect your mobile devices that you put in the market. Currently, as we speak, by the way, there's a case that I'm following particularly, and I want to see exactly how the courts are going to rule around it. There's a gentleman who's already seated in court today. He was arrested because he was helping Kenyans flash your mobile phones, the ones that you've given out on a hire purchase. Guess what? Even the law is not quite clear on what fault is committed is when they're trying to see what law is broken. Because that's not, Cybercrimes Act really doesn't talk specifically on this. It doesn't. So what have you done to make sure that you're mitigating this risk?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have those people, Kenyans, very, very smart in various ways. They try to exploit both hardware vulnerabilities and software vulnerabilities.
Yes.
So for us is try to be ahead of the game. So whereby we are looking at trends in the market, looking outside the country and what things are already happening, and be a step ahead of this. So we're working very closely with the Samsung team to be able to block these attacks before they even come. So those are some of the proactive things that we're doing. Reactively, as you have said, the laws have not been very clear. But as I said, if you look at this law that is being passed currently, the draft that is being made, it makes it clear because it now defines who is the beneficial owner of the asset and who is the owner of the asset. Because previously that was a gray area. Because someone will say, I'm flashing my own phone. Like I'm doing it for myself, but actually the phone does not belong to you until you are able to make all payments. So right now there's a lot, the law is not that clear, but it's borderline criminal offense.
Yes.
That's why a lot of people are being arrested, especially the ones that are doing it now commercially. So if maybe you had your phone and you're trying that, that's a bit different. But if you're doing it commercially, like you are a hacker, you're actually getting paid to do that, that's a criminal offense, and that's how the courts will determine those ones.
That's it.
Yeah.
Could you tell us this morning, probably, the data that you're looking at this morning from within WATU? What is the success rate of these guys who try and flash these phones?
No, pretty low, because we're looking at, you'll actually flash your phone today, but as soon as you get into an internet connection or any Wi-Fi connection, the phone is going to update itself, and then the locking mechanism will still come in place.
Yes.
So actually a very low success rate in this, and with the advance of technology that we're having, I think this is something that's going to get to close to zero within the next few years. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So you confidently say that as a commercial office of WATU, that's not an area that really worries you this morning?
Used to be a worry, but with a lot of technology, a lot of effort, and everything that we are doing, right from, so it's two-pronged. The first bit is, how are we targeting the right customers? So from our KYC rules, from the type how we understand the customers is like, how do we identify a customer who actually needs a smartphone and does not have the need for hacking and doing other things? He actually just needs the smartphone. So there's that aspect of the business. And then on the reactive side of it is a lot of money and intelligence going into research and development on how to stop future hacks.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Good. Let's talk about motorcycles then. So it's another area where we have rampant cases. And you've got to be careful when you talk about it, because I have hosted border riders right here in this studio. By the way, last year, we had a conversation here, and I'll put to you what they said. They said there's a certain trend where, let's say you've paid 80% of your loan, chances are your motorcycle is going to get stolen. All right? They're also saying that if you look at the trend of the motorcycles that are getting stolen, those are guys who've nearly paid off their loans. And then all of a sudden, your motorcycle gets stolen, you get accosted, and then it disappears. Let's talk about that. Let's first talk about the data that you have at WATU.
Yes.
Is that a problem to you, Chris?
Yeah. So to start off, I'll debunk those are rumors and myths, and I'll be very honest. That is being spread by people that do not have the right intentions for the border industry. Yes. So there are people that are trying to divert attention from the real problem. Motorcycle theft is a real problem in Kenya. Either motorcycles that are bought on cash or bought on loan. I'll give an example. We had an increase in theft in the Ukambani region.
Yes.
And we went and camped there for like 3 weeks, going from stage by stage, documenting how many bikes have been stolen, how the cases have been stolen, etc. And we discovered 13 bikes had been stolen within a period of 2 years. And then within those 13 bikes, you're talking about 9 of them being cash bikes. Only the 4 bikes were actually loan bikes.
Yes.
And then looking at the loan bikes, 2 of them were found, only 2 loan bikes were not actually found.
Yes.
So if you're looking at what is happening in the overall picture, what was financed approximately 600,000 motorbikes. Out of this, we're talking about less than 1% of the motorbikes that have been financed have actually been stolen. And of this number, half of them have been paid by insurance and the owners compensated. So in total, we're talking about, since the company started, actual confirmed lost bikes are less than 2,000 bikes. Actual confirmed lost bikes.
Yes.
And then when you look at this data, and I usually say this, I'm not talking as a thief. If you're looking at a thief does not want a worn out bike. A thief will want a new bike. So if you're looking at our data, 66% of the bikes that are reported stolen are within the first 6 months, not during the end of the loan period.
Yes.
But understanding the psychology of our customers, most of the loans are within 1 year. Majority of our customers do not pay within 1 year. And within the first 1 year, they have insurance. So you're looking at 13, 14 months, they do not have insurance. So when this bike gets lost at that particular point, it's very painful to this customer because they're not able to get another bike because they did not have insurance. And that's why you're seeing a lot of cases now, people saying they're stolen towards the end of what they're paying, because the ones that complain are the ones that can now not be compensated by insurance. And that's why we are pushing a lot of our customers, and in any meeting that you'll see us go, we're pushing a lot of customers to ensure that they have insurance.
That's it.
That is the main problem.
That's it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it then. For any other person, for any other border rider, other than the statutory requirement that you need best insurance before you buy a new bike, do they have a cover that protects them over the period that they're paying for these bikes?
So for now, we push the insurance to them, yes. And then apart from that, we now, as I said, we have discussions with various partners that will invite them to our premises, our meetings, so that they can actually provide these other services for our customers.
Yes.
So currently, most will just opt for insurance. Majority do not even opt for insurance. So there's a lot of education to go, and then a lot of regulation required to actually enforce this because they lose their lives, their families start struggling because they do not have last expense also just to take care of that funeral and also to take care of the family after that. So there's a lot of regulation and support from various partners to make this a reality, but there's a low adaptation from most of our customers on this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the reasons that they gave right here in the studio, they were even doubting on the tracker technology that is used to track these bikes. So that's easier for them and you as well, that in the case of theft or loss of the bicycle, that is easier for you to either turn off the bike or just say exactly where the bike has gone to. And by the way, maybe I need to call you back, Chris, one of these finders, so you sit with them in the studio. They were quite worried and they looked very honest. Could you talk to me about the technology that you're using to track these bikes?
Yes.
And how effective is it?
It
For
is.
any other person probably wants to come and get a bike from Watu, maybe this will be a boost in confidence to say that, well, when we track you, we're really sure of what we're doing.
Yeah. So first of all, there's a misconception about the use of the tracker and how actually the tracker works. So there's a lot of education that needs to go into this.
Yes.
So if you're looking at us as a business, we are giving out a bike without collateral. Like, it's an actual bike. What we know about you is your state chairman and everything. So the tracker that is put in this bike is for us to be able to find you in case we need to find you.
Yes.
But now, apart from that, it also has now secondary purposes, whereby in case your bike is lost, you are able to call. We have a 24-hour emergency center. So you're able to call our emergency center, and then we'll use this tracker to identify where the bike is.
That's it.
But unfortunately, looking at the current technology that we have in Kenya, if you're looking at a motorbike, there is, anyone who has opened a motorbike will know there is only a very few areas you can put a tracker.
That's it.
A tracker is an electrical equipment.
That's
it has to be connected within the electrical
That's
circuit.
it. That's it.
So any thief or any person can easily get this tracker out. And one of the things that we are encouraging most of our customers, because our data shows 56% of the reported bikes are not stolen like with robbery, with violence or anything. These are unattended bikes. So this bike has been left there, and then someone just comes and picks it and is able to go with it.
Yeah.
So even before we get to that level, there are still some basics that we need to do. As currently we have been piloting with a few customers that we have, where we're giving them a chain with a lock, so that they can also lock their bikes.
Yes.
But apart from that, we're doing a lot of research and development on other tracker technologies that we can use. So right now we have studies in Uganda where we want to use chain block technology to be able to track this bike. So with this, so long as we have a good coverage of people with mobile phones that have internet, so long as that bike is any of those areas, then it's able to be tracked, and then something difficult for most people to get it out. But what I'd like to encourage most of our customers, you still have the possibility of installing an extra tracker. You can do that. Trackers are now cheap, up as low as 4,500 shillings. You are able to get a tracker. And then in case you ever receive a phone call that your tracker is not functioning, please pick up that phone call so that we can organize to have a tracker replacement or fit it, because majority, as the battery degrades, some of the trackers go offline, and then now most of our customers will switch off their phones thinking that we are calling them to collect money, but we're actually trying to help to ensure that the trackers are actually functional, so that in case something happens, we are able to identify the bike. And most also importantly is the works that we are doing with the boda community, how majority of them are able now to register We gave out laptops to most of the county boda leaderships, so they're able to have a database of the bikes that are operating within their areas, all the way to chassis numbers and everything. So in case a new person comes into their stage, they're able to know if this bike is stolen or not. So if that is enforced across the whole country, then we are getting to a level whereby if someone steals a bike, they have nowhere to go within the country.
Yes.
And then we've also started discussions with neighboring countries, because we realize most of the bikes that are stolen within Kenya are either going to Uganda, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. So we are working with those border point patrols just to ensure that these bikes are not crossing to the border. But if we work together as an industry, and some of the things we're lobbying even with the security forces is like having a separate sub-department within the security agency just dealing with border theft. So there's a lot of work that really needs to go on to ensure that we do not have this pandemic.
Pretty much. Good. Now, Chris, as we ride close to the end of our conversation this morning, the biggest issue that I want you to address this morning is the talk that even majority of our lawmakers have around your model, especially when it comes to some of these products. They're saying that it won't make sense to double the cost of a mobile phone or a motorcycle and then turn around and call that financial inclusion. So my question then this morning would be, how do you make this make sense to them? Because if they are threatening to go to the National House and come up with these laws, we don't know what it's going to be. They're going to invite you to make submissions before they come up with these laws that are governing this area.
So for us, as I said, we start with impact, and we have met. We've been to the Senate, we've been to Parliament. We've given them the amount of impact that we actually make as a company. Yes. And then we're looking at. You imagine if Watu and these financing companies were not there, where would we have been currently in terms of unemployment, in terms of the economy, in terms of. I didn't even mention we're talking about 60 billion per year in VAT for fuel alone. And these are out of the 2.5 million bikes you're seeing in Kenya, what was financed over 600,000 of them. So it's a very big impact to what's happening. So yes. As of now, most of them have realized that we are part and parcel of this community. So where a lot of focus will be going is there is always business operations costs that need to be covered, and unfortunately most of these costs are going to be transferred into the customers. Yes, so for example, if you look at laws that are protecting both consumers and us, if we have laws that are protecting us against, let's say, vandalism, hacking and such things, that now reduces our costs of operations. So once these costs of operations also reduce, then this relief is also going to be passed to customers. Yes. We're also looking with these clear laws. It makes even investors very confident to work with us. Yes. So with those investors coming in, the access, because for us, we give loans, but we also depend on credit. So access to capital also becomes a bit easier for us. And then if we get cheaper capital, it becomes easier for us also to transfer the same relief to customers. Yeah. So with most of these lawmakers, I think they should focus on looking at these laws that makes the business environment easier for most of us. Like, for example, let's get these motorcycles assembled in Kenya. Let's get mobile phones assembled in Kenya, reducing that price significantly, making very clear laws against vandalism, as I've talked about, motorbike theft and such things. So once that reduces, those reliefs are going to be passed to the customers, and that will make it as cheap as possible. And then also we look at, on the flip side of this, without this, customers are just going to have undocumented loans that are a bit more expensive than even what's happening within the country. Yeah. As I said before, we have a lot of Shylocks that are giving out these motorbikes on rental, and these people will never own. So that is something that will keep on continuing if companies like us are not actually present. So it's something to figure out. So there's a lot of work going on, and we are always open to partner with them, talk to them, to make sure that they understand this industry in the level that it should be understood.
That's it.
Yeah.
Out of the pure numbers, your business also runs on increasing that access, which is what has been driving your numbers over the past 10 years, but you're also trying to minimize default cases. What is your default ratio across your two industries?
A bit different. So a bit on the border side, we're looking at So as I said, our business adapted as we are very adaptive. On the border side, we've seen the number reduce significantly because of some of the laws that were put in place.
Yes.
So we have understood our customers are living hand to mouth. So the total amount of money that they make within that day should be enough to cover their families,
yes,
able to pay their rent and other things. So we have to discover like what is the sweet spot for these customers so that they don't have to default. So one of the things we did is increase the amount of down payment that they need to make. So that reduces the daily payments that they need to actually make. It makes that affordable to them. And with this, we have seen a surge of over 80% of our customers paying quite properly. The 20%, they struggle, but we have the flexible methods, and majority of them will end up paying, not within their loan durations. They might take, the loan was for 1 year, they'll take up to 3 years, but actually finish paying. And that's why you see where people complain about the value doubling is because of the time that they have actually taken to actually pay the loan. So if they're supposed to pay the loan in 1 year, they ended up paying up in 3 years. So we're looking at the mobility, on the connectivity side, it's like a seesaw, depending on the vulnerabilities that are happening within the market. So if there's a surge of hacking, we see that drop. And then once we have a solution for that, that actually changes, and the people who are even offline are now able to get online and continue paying. So that has always been going up and down. But once, as I said, we have a lot of things that we're working with Samsung. So once we're able to get that happening, then those numbers will also drop, and we get to the level whereby over 80% of them are paying confidently.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, let's end it like this then. If you look at Kenya's master plan, the digital master plan, which is exactly where you find yourself,
Yeah.
It prioritizes national Wi-Fi hotspots, broadband expansion, and digital skills, aiming to bring services to all.
Correct.
How are you positioning yourself within that 2032 digital master plan?
Yeah, we are a big part of that. I mentioned. So if you look at what the government is doing, like they're building the infrastructure, and then with that infrastructure, like, do we have devices that can now be accompanied with that infrastructure?
Yes.
So you find a lot of people could not afford that. So with us coming into play, we're able to get smartphones in areas that they could not have gotten. So giving an example, if you put Wi-Fi in the remote areas in the country and people cannot afford smartphones, then there's nothing that we are doing. But with companies like us, then we are able to get these smartphones to those areas. And we're looking at services like e-citizen services being offered through smartphones. We're looking at e-procurement, and then we're looking at a whole big creative industry that is going to be open just because of internet and social media. So these are very big value addition, and we are a big part of it. I just wanted to give an example. There's a dancer from Western Kenya. I don't know if you've seen him on TikTok.
Yes.
There's a dancer from Western Kenya, and you can just imagine how his life has changed through access of a smartphone. So right now he's in Nairobi, going to Mombasa and different places. He has already become an influencer and a brand ambassador for most brands.
Yes.
So creating up a lot of a creative economy that will help a lot of our people. So it's part of creating jobs, and we're a big part of it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So then close it like this. Could you mention to me about your ecosystem? There are people saying that 10 years of operation is quite a long period. They would want to work with you. And what do you see your ecosystem morphing into, Chris, probably in the next 10 years?
So if you're looking at our ecosystem, so we're dealing with various stakeholders. So we're looking at, if you're looking at the motorcycle mobility part of it, we have a lot of dealers across the country. So we have dealer networks, we're working with various suppliers. So we're expanding this. We have started seeing a big jump into EVs. So currently, if you're looking at our current loans that we're issuing out, over 60% of the loans that are being issued out over the last few months are actually EVs. So a lot of customers are already adopting that. So we're working with these companies to expand this across the country. So that is coming up. Looking on the mobile side of things, we're looking at, right now we're dealing with Samsung. We're also getting other brands into the picture. I mentioned earlier about TVs. We have a bigger dealer network plus agents, creating employment for a lot of agents so far, students from universities that are able to actually onboard customers onboard our products in various areas. So a very big ecosystems. The big border community right now, most of them are registering into circles. So we're going to get into an environment where everything becomes a bit more formal,
yes,
more structured, and it makes things easier for us for the business.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What is your promise to your customers this morning and any other person sort of thinking, I've been trying to work with Watu, but I've not made that decision?
Yeah.
What is that key promise that you have for them?
Yeah. So key promise is like you'll always be the first part of our business. The customer is always at the heart of our business. We will invest in everything to ensure we are always accessible to you, providing you the best customer care whenever you need us, whenever you are available. We'll ensure responsible lending, ensuring that we are only giving you loans that will give you some impact in your life. So we're only focusing on high impact loans that will help you generate income for your family, yes, and make your life better. And then look forward for more products coming soon.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oof. That's Watu for you. You've been trying to figure how they work, what promise that they have for you. So now you do know. And they're in a very critical area of financial inclusion. They moved from mobility, now they're talking about connectivity. And according to Chris, they're right there within the 2022-2032 digital master plan. Chris, thank you very much for coming by, man. Taking back to the time that you joined us this morning at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. Guess what? It doesn't end here, because I had a conversation with a master of dog breeding in this country. What is the most expensive dog you've ever bought? 20,000? 50,000? 100,000? 300,000? I'll keep on going. It actually goes all the way up to 500,000 Kenya shillings. There is a man, his name is Dog Man, who's saying he's got the only dog breed available in Africa. And he's the only one who's doing it. For those people looking for docile pets, working dogs and all that, it makes sense for you then to catch him next, right here on The Morning Drift. We call him the master of dog breeding. His name is Joshua Wambua. Also, enjoy that as we step out of the studio this morning. Goodbye, I'll see you tomorrow for more conversations. I am at Kia Gesemba. This is Lookup TV. You can talk to us. Want to talk to Watu? You do know exactly what to do. And those who've sent in messages, I'm sorry I couldn't get time to read them. But as we do, we shall be forwarding them to Chris this morning. It's a good thing. He's right there in the studio. He's going to respond to all of them. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.